Usually on this channel, I cater to higher rated players in order for them to reach 2000 ELO. But in today's video, we're going to be showing some love to the players a little bit further down on the chess pyramid. I started playing chess in January of 2022, and just 30 days after I started playing, I reached 1000 ELO. I am 100% convinced that if you have just a few hours you can put aside every day to play chess, you can achieve exactly what I did. If you'd like me to make another video like this one on how to reach 2000 ELO, let me know in the comments below. But let's get started on reaching 1000 ELO first. We're going to split this video into 3 separate categories: openings, middle games, and end games. We'll also be working under the assumption that you know how the pieces move and basic rules of chess, but if you don't know that information, there'll be a link for it at the top of the description. Openings. The opening is the most important place that you can start when learning chess for the first time. Let me explain why. Let's say you want to learn the Ruy Lopez with the white pieces. It's an opening with e4 and is notoriously theoretical. It leads to incredibly complicated games and also allows black an arsenal of theoretical traps that you might have never heard of before. If you wanted to start to learn how to juggle, would you begin with 3 balls or 7 balls? If you can answer that question very easily, your choice of openings should be very straightforward. With enough practice, you might eventually learn how to juggle 7 balls at once, but it's going to take a ridiculous amount of time. If we want to be reaching 1000 ELO in just 30 days, we need to be a lot more efficient with our usage of time. Also, just quickly, if you have already been playing chess for, let's say, a couple of months now, and you started learning the Ruy Lopez, learn a new opening. I know it seems like you've just wasted a lot of time and that you should see it through, but I promise learning a difficult opening like the Ruy Lopez is going to take way longer than you think it will. Start with a simple opening that generates predictable middle games that you can play over and over again and therefore master very quickly. Don't pick openings that result in entirely unique middle games that you don't have the skill to evaluate properly. For the white pieces, if you want a diverse selection, I would recommend the London system, the Italian game, or the English opening. With the black pieces, I would recommend starting off with somewhat systematic openings like the King's Indian defense, and using the Caro-Kann systematically, interchanging with the Slav defense should it be necessary. So how do we start learning the new opening once we've picked which one we want to play? I've actually uploaded a video on exactly this topic before, and I'll link it in the description for anyone that's curious enough to watch. But considering we're catering for lower rated players in this video, we'll go over a brief study plan here. Just for this example, let's assume we're learning the London system and the Caro-Kann defense. First, what we want to do is look on YouTube and search London System Explained. Here, you'll find multiple videos outlining the basic strategies the opening entails. Generally, I wouldn't look at videos longer than 30 minutes here, because we only want to build a basic understanding of what the opening entails. Once you've familiarized yourself with the basic ideas of the opening, go on YouTube again and search London System Speedrun, and find a series of videos of a higher rated player playing the London system at the lower levels. This will help you build confidence in the preceding middle games in that specific opening, seeing what common mistakes players your rating make and how a higher rated player punishes them. Watching these kind of videos is not something you should only do once and never again though. Over this 30-day period, you should continuously watch videos like this. Try and watch at least one of these videos per day, and if you're really paying attention, there is really no limit to how many of these videos you should be watching. Once you've watched some tutorials and opening speedrun videos, go to the chess.com analysis board and set up the position of your opening. In our case, we want d4, d5, bishop f4, and knight f6. Now click Practice versus Computer at the bottom of the screen and click Change Bot on the following page. Pick the lowest rated bot you can find and play out this opening position until you're fully comfortable with it. Take note that we don't even want to be playing any real opponents yet. When I started playing chess, it took me 2 weeks before I played anyone. Continue this process until you're comfortable in the opening. You should be consistently winning games and not blundering too many pieces. Rinse and repeat this method in other varying opening positions too. If after d4 your opponent plays f5, the Dutch defense, you should also practice these kinds of positions against the computer. Eventually, you'll cover most of the basic tries your opponent will come up with and should be fully prepared for whatever your opponent throws at you when you're ready for some real games. If you want to go one step further, you should consider checking out chessbook.com. The full version is paid at $5 per month, but if you use a very basic opening like the London system, you should be able to use the free version for your full repertoire. Essentially, Chessbook is flashcards for chess openings. You begin by building a repertoire assisted by the the website's engine function, which will recommend lines based on effectiveness and soundness. Once you've set up your repertoire, you can practice it by remembering the moves and putting them on the board. If you make a mistake, Chessbook makes you try a different line and comes back to the one you got wrong later. I won't go on about Chessbook for too long, but if you would like to check it out, the link is in the description. It should be noted that whilst I recommend watching YouTube videos on your opening every day, the necessity of playing against bots significantly decreases once you start playing real players. If you want a suggestion on how you should be allocating your time, this is what I would recommend. You should spend 30 minutes on watching videos on your openings, 60 minutes on playing rapid games in the pool, and 30 minutes on analyzing the games you've played. But realistically, you can swap these things around in your study plan. If you feel that you've watched enough videos on your opening, you can stop doing that and spend the time elsewhere. Just be careful that you're not spending all of your time playing games and nothing else. Middle games. Middle games are essential to improve upon too, and to be quite honest, it's not too dissimilar than the study plan we put together for our openings. We're going to be putting a focus on tactics and checkmates in order to improve our middle game prowess. But not only is it important to have an eye for tactics, it's important to have an eye for free pieces. At the lower levels, a lot of games are simply won by somebody blundering one piece and then the other person going on to win the game entirely. So in the middle game category, we'll look at how we can start seeing those blunders more often than not and winning games because of it. One thing I've always disliked about chess puzzles is that they constantly arise from structures that you will never find yourself in because of the openings that you play. If you play the Sicilian defense, you're never going to get tactics that are similar to players that play the King's Indian defense. So to fix this, we're only going to be using puzzles that will arise from the opening structures that you play. Head over to Lichess, click on Puzzles and Puzzle Themes. Now scroll down to By Game Opening and find the opening you play. In this case, the London system isn't immediately available, so we click More. Literally every opening has puzzles on Lichess, so just scroll down until you find the one you want. Now we should get puzzles that possess similar pawn structures to what we'd normally get in games. If you haven't already familiarized yourself with basic tactics in chess, you'll definitely want to do that before you start solving puzzles. I'll leave a Lichess study and some free Lichess lessons in the description below if you still need to do this. But for those who already know these tactics, let me walk you through exactly how I want you to be solving these puzzles. Set a limit of 5 minutes per puzzle. If you can't solve the puzzle within 5 minutes, it's too hard for you. But we'll talk about what to do if this happens later. Even if you think you know the answer 100%, continue calculating until the 5 minutes is over. Once you've reached the threshold, put the moves on the board and see if you were right. If you got the puzzle right, fantastic. Move on to the next one. The only time you should not move on is if you were still confused about the puzzle even if you got it right. If this happens, click the button on the right side that turns the engine on, and put whatever moves you were thinking of on the board. Understand why those moves didn't work, and then move on to the next puzzle. We want to be getting the most out of every puzzle we play. We won't magically become better if we speedrun through the puzzles. Quality over quantity is the aim of the game here. If you got the puzzle wrong at the end of the 5 minutes, don't try and complete the puzzle, unless you were 50-50 on which move to play. Just click View the Solution in the bottom right and understand why your move was wrong, and what the correct move was. Rinse and repeat this process for as long as you'd like. If you want my recommendation, I would recommend you play 60 minutes of puzzles per day, especially before you start playing your games. I would also recommend that you split the 60 minutes up into 15-minute sessions, and definitely have one of those sessions before you start playing your games for the day. Another big part of improving your middle games is just looking at where you went wrong in the games that you actually have played. Whether or not you've made the step up from playing against bots to real players is irrelevant. We want to be reviewing every game we play. We specifically want to play puzzles that derive from our opening to ensure what we are learning is applicable to what we play. And what better way to do that than just by reviewing our games? I have a video up on my channel that you might be interested in regarding how to analyze your own games. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. But even still, we'll briefly touch on how you should be analyzing your games. If you're on chess.com and don't want to pay for it, click the big game review button and then click the analysis button. usually paired with a magnifying glass icon. Now click the share button with the 3 dots in the bottom right, click on the box that says PGN and copy it. Now head over to Lichess, click the Tools drop down and click Import Game. Now paste your PGN in the PGN box and make sure you tick the Request a Computer Analysis button too. Once you're done, click Import Game and you should have your game reviewed. Now we're here, we want to make sure we're not overcomplicating things. There are only 2 things I want you to focus on when you're reviewing your games: mistakes and uncertainties. Let's quickly look at mistakes first because it's a lot more simple. Essentially, we want to look at every mistake we made in a game. Anything with a question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, or double question mark is a mistake according to Lichess. Whilst making your way through the game, identify why those moves were wrong and what a better move could have been, just like we did for puzzles. When you understand the move, continue on to the next one. For uncertainties, these are key moments in the game you found yourself unsure in. Maybe you made the right move anyway, but go back to these moments in the game review and see what would have happened if your opponent played certain moves you thought of at the time. Think of game reviews as memorizing digits of pi. Each game you analyze, you remember 1 extra digit, and if you analyze 100 games, you suddenly know 100 digits of pi. The exact same thing is true for reviewing your games. If you review 1 game, you're going to understand your theory 1 move deeper than you did before. You'll also be familiar with 1 extra position that arose from the opening that you play. Apart from this, you should continue watching videos of higher rated players playing your opening and seeing how they navigate their way through the middle game. And honestly, you really shouldn't need much else. We're at a point where I'll again recommend how I would allocate my time here so you're not putting your eggs in the wrong baskets. I would spend 30 minutes watching videos on your openings, 60 minutes playing rapid games in the pool, 30 minutes analyzing the games you've played, and 60 minutes solving opening themed puzzles. I know we've already committed a lot of time to playing chess per day, but a lot of this can be done in very casual settings. You can solve puzzles on your train ride to work, or watch opening videos in your lunch break. Improving at chess is a lot more casual when you're below 1000 ELO. You shouldn't be getting lost in heavy opening theory or endgame strategy. You should just be learning the basics. Endgames. Now we can look at endgames, and this might be the most important thing for you to learn as it decides who wins, draws, or loses the game. One specific thing that we'll look at in this category is conversion. Getting an advantage and slowly making the game simpler and simpler until you have a very easy route to winning. So let's actually just begin by looking at this specifically. One thing we actively want to do is trade off material as long as it's not a negative trade for us. This may seem like a very strange piece of advice, but it's a rule that we're going to be able to break once we get higher rated. The point of trading off pieces is to get positions with piece sets that we're better at managing. For example, let's say that every piece is still on the board by move 10. Both you and your opponent are going to be equally rated in these positions because mastering chess with every piece on the board takes years of practice. I know this sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it's how I got so high rated so quickly. I knew I wouldn't be able to play full games with every piece on the board without blundering, so I would trade just enough pieces off the board until I was comfortable. You might be thinking, if we trade off pieces in an equal manner, how is this going to benefit us? Because the game is going to be equally simple for our opponent as well. But this is where we're going to be introduced to the main thing that's going to get us 1000 ELO in these 30 days. In my opinion, chess.com has the best endgame trainer. Lichess also has an endgame trainer, but it's very limited to only rook and pawn endgames and doesn't cover absolutely everything. I'm going to be using the chess.com endgame trainer in this video, but just know if you don't want to pay for that, you don't have to, and there are free alternatives that I'll link in the description below. We're going to be spending a lot of time on this trainer. You should work through literally every single category there is. Practice pawn endgames, minor piece endgames, rook endgames, queen endgames, and imbalanced endgames. Practice them against a bot that is a suitable rating for you, and practice them until it's second nature. You should be spending an hour per day doing this. If you don't have the time, you can interchange this with some of the other time commitments we've already outlined. Maybe one day you practice your endgames, and one day you practice your puzzles. Alternatively, you could do 30 minutes for each. It's up to you. This is why when we simplify our positions, it's not going to be a balanced game. We want to be incredibly underrated at chess with certain pieces on the board. For example, your ELO might be 600, but if there are only rooks and pawns on the board, your play might reflect that of a 1500 rated player. This is what we're trying to go for. Whilst everyone else is trying to master chess with every piece on the board at once, we're going to individually practice chess with different piece sets and master them that way. Of course, eventually we'll need to learn how to play great chess with every piece on the board at once, but this is something we'll gradually shift into our game. I think you can see what I'm getting at here. If you trade everything off the board except your queen and some pawns, you're going to be better than your opponents because you've specifically practiced these kind of positions. Our opponents will have no idea that we're doing this and happily trade down into these positions and get absolutely destroyed. It's literally as simple as that. Practice your endgames in this endgame trainer or any other endgame trainer and master them individually. It's quite literally as simple as that. This is the study plan that I used to get 1000 ELO in less than 30 days with absolutely no prior chess knowledge, and I genuinely believe that anyone watching this video can do it as well. I would even go as far as to say that you can do it quicker than I did. The more time that you have to spend playing chess, the faster you'll do it. As long as you're spending your time in the correct places, I see no reason that anyone watching this video can't reach 1000 ELO. Of course, this goes without saying that eventually you are going to have to break the rules that I'm telling you in this video, but that's a problem for another day. You'll need to stop trading your pieces, you'll need to learn better openings, and so on and so forth. And before anyone tries to tell you that this methodology will stunt your growth later on in your chess journey, it won't. I uploaded a video showing how I got to 2200 ELO in just 2 years, and another one showing how I got to 2300 ELO from there. The only reason that your growth would be stunted by using these concepts is if you follow them for too long. Rules are meant to be broken, but don't break them until you know better than the rules. Before we wrap things up, I wanted to talk about a topic that I hear a lot of people talk about at this level. Should you get a coach? Generally, my rule of thumb is if you're still in school or under 18 years old, you probably shouldn't get a coach. You probably have a lot of spare time on your hands and the right mindset to improve and get 1000 ELO on your own. However, if you're out of school and have a full-time job, it can be difficult to allocate the amount of time I'm recommending. In this case, I would definitely recommend you get a coach if you're feeling stuck. Be careful with who you pick as a coach though. If you see a coach with extremely affordable rates, the likelihood is you're getting a copy-pasted lesson they tell all of their students. Chess is not linear. You don't require the same coaching that everyone else around your rating requires. I offer personalized lessons on my website in the description below, where I tailor my lessons for my students specifically. Although there are many great coaching options out there and one size does not fit all. If there's a coach at your local club, I would recommend getting coaching from them first. If you're living in India, I would recommend getting a coach from your country. At the end of the day, the choice is yours, but my main point I'm getting at is don't get coaching until you've exhausted all of your other options first. I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see another video like this except for 2000 ELO. 1000 ELO is not difficult to achieve, and I know this video is already long enough as it is, but I really want to send you guys off with one little game review. We're going to quickly look at my first ever chess game on chess.com, not only to prove that I had no prior chess knowledge when I started playing, but also to prove how far you can get in your chess journey if you have the right mindset. So let's get right into that game. We won't analyze this game too seriously because I was literally 115 ELO. You can't get much lower than that. And I get a lot of people say that, oh, you must have had prior chess knowledge, you must have played when you were a kid, and that's how you got so high rated so quickly. But no, I just spent a lot of time playing chess and practicing in the right way, and that's how I got higher rated. So I did start at 115 ELO. And in this game, you can see the accuracy was not good. I didn't win this game. I got 43% accuracy, and that is an absolutely horrifying evaluation graph. So we'll continue on and look at the game. I actually started with as an e4 player. I didn't know what this meant at the time. I just played e4. I know that you're supposed to play one of these two moves. My opponent played e6. Clearly just going for the French defense, knows great theory. I go d4, which is actually the correct thing to do, and my opponent immediately plays the most 200 ELO move possible, queen h4, and I follow up with the most 100 ELO response, which is blundering my pawn in the center. It's not the biggest deal in the world, because after takes I can block with my bishop, which is fine. You should also probably block with bishop e3, but I mean, I don't think it really matters. Queen g4 back, attacking the pawn, and not using any other piece, of course, because why would you? And then I play castles, which is one of the only good moves in this entire game. My opponent finally brings out another piece with knight f6. Somehow I'm actually better here. I assume it's because of something like knight e5. No, it's c4. Apparently you just take the whole center and this queen is just a massive target in the center. I play knight c3. I'm developing pieces. This is all like kind of logical, but it gets real bad real quick. My opponent plays knight c6. This is bad because of knight b5, and there is really very little way to actually defend this pawn. I play h3, kicking the queen away. It's not a terrible move. Queen f5, and then I play a4. I don't know what a4 does. It actually just does nothing. It genuinely, there's not a single reason to play a4. My opponent plays a6, which is somehow the best move. I don't know how my opponent knew that. And I think this is a good reflection of how bad I really was when I started playing chess. Rook a3, there is absolutely no reason to play it. Like, there's not even, like a clear path to do anything with this rook. I mean, I invented that Brendan Jacobson opening that he got banned for playing all the way back in 2021. Yeah, my 100 ELO self is better than a grandmaster because I played rook a3. My opponent doesn't find it and plays b5, and of course, if I didn't see that the bishop saw this rook then, I'm not going to see it again, so I play rook b3. The pawn is fortunately not blundered because my knight is looking at it, and now d5 is played. Obviously, you've got a free pawn here, and also this is going to be a pin eventually. I do take, he moves his knight immediately. I move my rook to somewhere else that it can be taken. This time it's just not defended by anything. And they finally play bishop takes b4. I play queen d2, just putting myself into this pin and allowing knight e4 to come with tempo. Knight c4 comes with tempo as well. I go back to d1. My opponent plays knight d6, allowing, what's the move? Knight h4, and I think the queen is looking a little bit trapped there. Is the queen actually just fully trapped if knight h4? Knight h4 is that, yeah, I think it's just completely trapped here. You actually just have to take this knight. But of course, I'm not going to see that. My opponent's not going to see that. I play b takes a. They take with their rook, blundering their rook, but I'm not going to see that. I move my queen to e1, putting it in the pin again, just for no reason. Absolutely no reason. The rook goes back to a8, realizes that my bishop is looking at it, and I play knight h4. This time, the queen just isn't trapped because you can play queen takes c2. I mean, there's multiple ways to get out of it. Also, bishop takes c3 this time, comes with temper. I drop my pawn. I play f4 because I love moving pawns twice forward. I did it with a4, and now I'm doing it with f4. He pins my bishop to my queen. I play knight f3, and I'm really just not getting my pieces in the direction of the king at all. Like, there's really just... I mean, this game is terribly lost if you couldn't tell already. I'm -6 on evaluation. He continues to bring, or she continues to bring, their knight to e4. Again, I'm just really obsessed with moving my pawns twice. Like, not twice, but 2 squares forward. I don't know what g4 does. Knight g3 is played. I played rook f2. Undefending this bishop, by the way, and now I'm -8. Not only undefending my bishop, but allowing this. I would have to... Actually, am I just losing my queen here? Because there's also a pin here that I've voluntarily put myself in. Knight g e4 doesn't allow this, but allows this check, apparently. Bishop b5 check. What? Knight takes? And what? Oh, wow. And the queen on the other side. That would be nice if I had a brain at the time, but obviously I'm not going to play that. I'm playing rook g2 because I see my rook is under attack. I'm not going to see that there is a x-ray on the queen. My opponent castles, and now there is absolutely no way I ever win this game. I play bishop d1, which does attack the queen, but it blunders the bishop behind it, and my opponent finds it. I play rook e2. I don't know how many times this rook has moved. It's too many is the answer. My opponent brings their knight in. Of course, I still can't take this. I mean, I can, physically, and I'm let off the hook. Actually, not really let off the hook, because if you take, you also drop this, and you can also drop the queen, or not. The queen is still hanging. Yeah, I think this is a good reflection on how bad I was. I don't know what the rook is doing. It's why I don't know. I don't know why so many things are hanging at the same time. It's not pretty. G5, but this pawn is... I think I'm just making all of the worst moves on the board. I genuinely don't know what my plan was here. Knight takes d1 was played. I finally take this, but I take it when I can just be discovered checked. I mean, it's mate in 7 here. There's a check. I bring my knight back, which is actually not a terrible move. Knight takes e2 check, king g2, and I'm surely made it in a couple of moves here. I am, my king goes over, and you can... I don't remember playing that. Why did I blunder my queen 2 ways? Okay. I don't know why I did that. That's like, I don't know how that's an excellent move as well. That doesn't make much sense to me. But my bishop, their bishop takes, I play h4 because, I mean, what else are you going to play? I think I'm actually aware of the stalemate now, and I'm kind of just pushing my pawns forward. Oh, I lose on time? Oh my god. Well, I think this accurately reflects how bad I was when I started playing chess, and how possible it is for you guys to do the same thing. I mean, you guys cannot be worse than that. There is absolutely no way anyone watching this video played a worse first game than that one. Like, I genuinely refuse to hear it. So if you didn't have a worse game than that one, you are set to get 1,000 ELO in the next 30 days.